staff?
Yep, you should have just gotten the email, and I just sent it to you on chat just to double up in case you need one in one place.
All right, cool. I'll join in using this one.
All right, we'll see you shortly. Okay, guys, we're going to have our 30-second countdown now. I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar. Thank you guys so much.
Recording in progress.
Awesome, thanks. Thank you.
Before I start?
Should have been something at 7.
Okay.
Usually it gives us sessions.
Okay, I call this regular meeting to order. Will you please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to do the roll call. Luis Garcia. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. I'm looking at his name. Excuse me, Luis. I apologize. I know your last name. Luis Gonzalez.
Present.
Greg Taylor.
Here.
Maria Garcia.
Here.
Dr. Wade McLean.
Here.
And Teresa Riel. I'm also here. I just have a point of privilege real quick to read to everyone. Last year, the former Board of Governors caused the college to get into a little bit of trouble with the HLC, the Higher Learning Commission. The Higher Learning Commission is the institution that grants Pima Community College its accreditation. That was serious business. This new governing board, with 3 new members and 2 returning members, has agreed to be autonomous, holding the board and each one of ourselves to high levels of accountability, to our elected duties, and to follow board bylaws and the state statutes. You will notice that because of this new self-governance and autonomy, the board will not have legal counsel sit at the dais with us. But legal counsel will be available at the meeting in case that expertise and knowledge is needed. So thank you. Okay, and first it's public comment, and Michaela Hayes, you'll be up first.
Hi. I'm looking for the unmute button. All right. Good evening, board members, chancellor, colleagues, and guests. My name is Michaela Hayes, math faculty, PCCEA president, and AERC co-chair. Last month, I mentioned that the AERC met with Jeff Sylvan at the end of the fall semester to discuss the core of our concerns regarding the AERC's involvement in the class and comp process. The biggest concern was the disconnect between employees' views that the AERC was sidestepped and the administration's view that administrative procedure was followed. Employees want to ensure that any changes to compensation down the line are addressed by the appropriate group, the AERC. We're working on AP 1.2501 to strengthen this role, but I believe the board can help strengthen the AERC through revisions to BP 1.25, which I see referenced in the action item agenda linked document tonight. A small but major change that would strengthen the AERC shared governance process is to put the final decision for all policy changes back in the governing board's hands. Several years ago, when the AERC was created, the board delegated authority for personnel policy to the Chancellor, in effect taking themselves out of the employee handbook policy process because of the time it took to review every policy and the level of operational details in those policies. However, this sets up an overwhelming imbalance in the ability of employees to effectively negotiate policy for the groups they represent. Please note, this is not a comment on the people involved or how well things may or may not be going, but my observation about a fundamental system design failure. Employees now negotiate policy changes with those who ultimately make the final decision. If consensus is not reached, administration makes the final decision, in many cases the same people employees were negotiating with in the first place. In my opinion, the complaint filed by the AERC faculty to HLC regarding class and comp could have been avoided last year with one fundamental change in BP 1.25 and the AERC structure. The board already holds ultimate decision-making authority, as that power cannot be delegated away. And I recognize that some policy changes in AERC are day-to-day operations that probably don't need the board's attention. So to recognize this, the change that I would like to see is twofold. First, the board could require a written summary notification of all policy changes made through consensus in the AERC. And second, the board could require that all policy proposals not reaching consensus be presented to the board for direction or decision, sort of a Supreme Court, if you will. This fundamental change would shift the imbalance of power within the shared governance system so that management has motivation to reach consensus and employees would hold a true voice in that process. I don't believe the board would spend much time reviewing such policies, but I do believe that a change in that manner would have a positive impact on the legitimacy of the shared governance role of AERC, increase administrative accountability for reaching consensus, and lower the chance of future complaints regarding policy creation. Lastly, I ask if you have a study session on these possible changes to board policies, that you invite representatives from shared governance employee groups to answer questions and share our successes and our challenges. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michaela. Are there any questions? Thank you. Our next, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Chancellor, do you think we should consider a session, a special session? I mean, board chair?
So just as a matter of procedure, we're not supposed to discuss items that are not on the agenda.
Actually, Maria, that was the same exact mistake I made our first board meeting in January. I started to talk about something because the words here give us 4 options that we can do as a board, but not at this point. We can talk about them when we talk about more, when item number 10. Yeah, thank you. Our next person who has pre-registered for Call the Audience, and so we're going to, just another real quick thing, we're going to have Call the Audience where you can register before the meeting, which makes it a lot easier on the personnel who are doing many, many things. So if you want to do a Call the Audience, we'd prefer you to sign up in advance, but if things get busy and you need to speak to us, you're always welcome to fill out one of our comment cards when you're here. So thank you for considering that option. Scott Stewart has registered and he will be via Zoom if he is here in attendance. I only see me talking, so.
There, can you hear me now?
Thank you, Scott, we can.
Very good. Chair Royale, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, you guests, thank you for having me again. I come to you today to say how much I appreciated the latest milestone in the improvement of our automotive program. I was very pleased to be able to join a few current and past board members for that celebration of the Ford Asset Program on January 17th. It took a lot of work by a lot of people to get us to this point, and I want to thank all of them, and I look forward to continued improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. We appreciate your comments. Now we're moving on to section 1.5, remarks by governing board members. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to share your thoughts?
I just want to welcome everybody back in reference to a new semester, especially with faculty and staff. And those young people that that are interested in your hands in reference to teaching them, but also making guide them in reference to all the classes are going to be going with you. I do understand that the beginning of each semester is very important in reference to those people that will continue to be motivated, but also, as we all know, the other extreme. It's disappointing, not disappointing, but also, what's the word I want to call? Or disillusion. I think that's a lot of our young people, they get this disillusion very quick, especially the new freshmen that are coming in. And I think, no, I believe that our staff and each of the campus will tend to them and also provide them whatever needs to be done, reference to the public resources that we have through Pima Community College. Those are the only things that I want to share is welcome back for another new year. And we hope for the best, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of new changes as we do here on the board. And I feel very optimistic that positive things are going to be happening for everyone, not only for the community, but also for the college, but also for the young people out there. And with those two words, thank you.
Greg Taylor, do you have some comments?
Yeah, thank you. It's much similar to what former board member Stewart mentioned, but yeah, I extend my congratulations to those 18 students who graduated from the Ford Asset Program that I had a chance to attend along with Chairperson Real. It's an incredible example of how the college can partner with private industry to give students a pathway to a career that allows them to earn a living wage right out of the gate and then grow and continue to expand that wage. And so it's a living demonstration of that. And I look forward to many more graduations to come as that program continues to expand. And also to extend my thanks to all the members of the college who have been part of our still ongoing orientation. If anybody's sat with us for those several hours and helped to explain different aspects, and I know at least I, for one, still have a lot to learn, but every bit I learn and all the more I see about all the good that's going on at the college, it really, you all are doing an incredible job. And it's heartening to me every time we learn a little bit more about the depth and breadth of what you all are doing to change students' lives. So thank you so much for investing that time in me and my education and the rest of my fellow new board members. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And Maria Garcia?
Welcome, everyone. So was it last week that we went to the state capitol? Okay, so we attended, me, Teresa, and Dr. McLean. Did I say that right? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Anyway, it was a very interesting session that we had over there at the Capitol. Basically, they talked about making some changes to the expenditure limitation, which I would encourage everyone and for you to talk to your family members about contacting the legislature and advocating for that. It would really help the college, even though we're spending a lot of money on the new buildings. We still have to maintain them. There's still going to be some deferred costs that need to be taken care of, and including still salary and compensation issues that are going to continue to be. And then the other thing is that I'm really proud of and congratulate the new board members that we have. I think it's going to be a wonderful session. Looking forward to it. A new board, new attitudes, and I hope that all of you will let us know what, in ways that we can improve. Thank you, Michaela, for what you've said. And David Dore, thank you again for your leadership. And I congratulate you on your new position. I'm sorry to see you go, but I know it's going to be great for you. It's a good opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And Dr. McLean?
Good evening. In regards to our trip to Phoenix, where we were able to participate in the Arizona Community College Day at the Arizona Legislature, I'd like to say that Pima College was well represented, not only by board members, but I had an opportunity to spend some time at our booth, And manned at the booth was young people, our students, and staff. And I have to tell you that on a personal note, I found out that one of the staff actually had their high school diploma signed by me. And he was my favorite. But it was a tremendous image, and it's important for the legislators to see actually the faces of the people that are benefiting from our efforts. I want to thank staff for all the time and effort they've been putting in trying to train me to become an effective governing board member, and I want to thank the gracious board members who have joined me that they've been so wonderful. And so I'm looking forward to a very productive year, and hope that all of you will support us and give us your insights. Thank you.
Thank you. So I love this job. I never thought there'd be a better job than teaching, and we don't have to grade homework when you're on the Board of Governors, so it's fabulous. We have been super, super busy for a volunteer job. The hours that, at least right now while we're learning everything, are pretty large. The last week, I attended virtually via Zoom the AERC meeting, and that group is co-chaired by Aubrey Conover and Michaela Hayes, and there were 28 people whose names I wrote on my list as they were introducing themselves, and the next 2 hours that meeting flew by, and the entire time I was so impressed with all of the suggestions and the expertise and the knowledge that every single one of those people in that group gave and suggested. And I realized that, you know, Aubrey Conover has all sorts of other duties to do. Michaela Hayes has all sorts of other duties to do, and they're doing this amazing job for the benefit of the entire college. And I was so proud that whole time. My underlying theme on this little introduction is how proud I am of the college. I also was fortunate enough to go to the Ford Asset opening at the downtown campus, and I almost started crying when I went up there to welcome them to the program, because I saw all of these parents just so thrilled that their kids were doing this amazing thing. And all of these opportunities are available to the young people, well, even maybe older people of Pima County. And once again, the pride I have for all the work all of you are doing is utterly amazing. So keep it up, and let's make sure that we work together. Like Maria had mentioned, anything that we can do better from our point of view, we want to hear from you. I love being part of this college again. It was a long, dry 3 years. I'm sure COVID had a lot to do with that, but it's so nice to be back with all of you amazing folks. So thank you so much for making this college such a great place to be a Board of Governors member. Thank you. And now the Chancellor is going to introduce our Pima Mission Moment.
Yes, Madam Chair, it's my pleasure to invite Dean Greg Wilson to introduce the Mission Moment for us this evening. Greg, are you on?
I am, Chancellor Lambert. Thank you. Good evening, Chair Riel, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, students, colleagues, and guests. It is my pleasure to share an update from our Automotive Technology program. As the current board members and former board member mentioned, on Tuesday, January 17th, we launched our Ford Asset program. Ford Asset stands for Automotive Student Service Educational Training, and it is a 2-year program that prepares students for the industry. The students spend 8 weeks in class here at the Automotive Technology and Innovation Center, and then they spend 8 weeks at a local dealership learning from experienced technicians. And as we watch this video clip recorded by Sherry, Dan, Tom, and the fantastic PCC TV team, I'm sure you will quickly recognize who our industry partner is.
With a 4-year-old son at his side, Peter de la Cruz has an incredible opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream.
Getting my master's mechanic degree in 2 years, that's amazing. I really want to learn the electric portion of it, get into that.
Peter was selected to become one of 18 distinguished students to attend the Ford Tech Asset Program at Pima Community College's Automotive Technology and Innovation Center.
It's going to help me get into the track that I want to be in. It's going to get me, into a nice career, try to work my way up, make money, and be able to support my son.
It's actually a dream come true.
The program has also been a decades-long concept for local Ford dealer Jim Click, who has made a substantial investment in the Ford Asset Program. He donated 6 cars. And as a part of the program, students like De La Cruz will receive hands-on technology, working and getting paid as an apprentice alongside Jim Click's automotive master technicians.
For me, selfishly, it's going to give me some of the best, brightest technicians in the country, right here in my own community. But it's not an expense, it's an investment in the future.
What master technicians do is often compared to brain surgery, but the auto industry is constantly changing. So a top-of-the-line facility like Pima's Automotive Center and the Ford Asset Program will boost student proficiency.
With the help of Pima Community College, the Chancellor built a dream team here in creating a campus where Ford would say yes.
This new program will put students like De La Cruz on the fast track, offering certificates within 2 years instead of the typical 5 to 8. Ford Asset instructor Shane Peitel is excited to get this program off the ground in Tucson at Pima, using his years of experience working at the Ford Motor Company.
Our students are spending an equal amount of time learning and working and making money on the job in the capacity of a service technician while they're going to school.
A 3-way partnership between Ford, Pima, and Jim Click will help usher students like Peter de la Cruz into a stable career. And that strong support goes a long way not only for him, but for his little boy as well.
I'll just be, making some good money after, and then being able to do what I love too at the same time. Working on cars, learning about everything, especially the newer ones.
And obviously I want to thank the Jim Click Automotive team for their support of our automotive program and making this partnership possible. Some of you may have heard this. That was actually the first call I made when I started in this position almost 9 years ago. Additionally, I would like to thank Daryl Keppel, who has been with the Click team for 48 years, and he was essential in working with the Ford team, both in Michigan and within the state of Arizona, to see this through. Our first cohort of 18 students, you got to see the students on the video. They are currently enrolled in a technical math class, so it is a split between not just automotive, but gen eds as well, because they are completing the degree. And one of the things we always work with, a lot of times you will have companies, right, they want to see the students learn the skill sets that they need, but they don't always care about students completing. That is not the case with the Ford Motor Company. They want to see our students graduate because it's going to make it easier for them to be promoted within the company. So that's a great thing. The students currently are taking a technical math class, so I want to thank Dr. Desai, Department Head Diane Lucier, and Dean James Gray for making that happen. As well, you saw Shane on the video, the students are enrolled in a basic electrical course, which if you don't know is typically the hardest area within automotive to learn. And they're also taking a noise, vibration, and harshness course, and that's with Shane, who is a Ford Senior Master and an ASE Master Technician. I will say this, as we were benchmarking other programs around the country, we learned that there's a certain school in the Midwest that was known as the best Ford program in the country. I'll simply say that we were happy to hire Shane away from a certain program in the Midwest, and it won't be long before Pima is known as the best Ford asset program in the U.S. I want to just also thank Automotive Department Head Skylar Webb and the automotive team for their hard work and efforts to make our automotive program what it is today and what it will become. Thank you to everyone on the board and our executive leadership for making this happen. And we'll be sending some more happy reports soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our reports. First, we're going to have administrative reports, the Chancellor's goal update, the Centers of Excellence, and student support from David Doré.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. And good evening, Board Chair Real and members of the Governing Board and Chancellor Lambert and students and colleagues and guests. My name is David Doré, and I serve as the president of our campuses, and I'm going to give a brief update on the Chancellor's goals. I'm going to do this really quick, about 5 minutes, and I'm going to include some, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So I'm basically presenting on the Chancellor's goals around the Centers of Excellence and student support. And then I'll, I've given you a lot of information in the executive summary as well on these goals. So the goals that are in the Chancellor's goals this year are in alignment with our educational master plan, our facilities master plan, and the 2021-25 strategic plan and institutional goals, as well as our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. I just want to share some of the key milestones that was so exciting that you got to see Greg in the mission moment and the students, because the Automotive Technology and Innovation Center was one of our key milestones. Of course, that's completed. And all of these programs are not just about the facilities, but about, as you're seeing, these programs that are going in and opportunities to really better serve our employers and increase our enrollment. Also, another significant milestone, Jim Craig is here. The IT and Cybersecurity Center of Excellence is completed, and we're very, very proud of that and the enrollment in that program as well. And then our aviation technology expansion, that was completed, and as you're seeing, we've now added additional cohorts, and one of the promises that we made in the expansion was that we would double our output of completers in this high demand, and high wage sector.
So David, were you supposed to be advancing slides?
I think the next one.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry about that. So next, I want to just talk a little bit about the Chancellor's goals as they are in the dashboard. And all of this is available to you in real time, and it's also on our public website in terms of the dashboard. And actually, I'm going to ask if we can call up that dashboard now, just so you can look at that. And this dashboard is essentially maintained by our Chief of Staff's office. Is that coming up here? Yes. Okay. I don't see it yet.
It's still thinking.
Oh, I was concerned that it was going to be slow. Here it comes. And I would encourage the board, if you ever have any specific questions about where we are on any of the Chancellor's goals at any given moment, you can log into this dashboard, and it's going to give you an overview of that as well. There's a number of components there. Then in each of these areas, there's a much more detailed internal spreadsheet as well that's maintained by the key project leads for each of these projects, which has our key performance indicators, our updates, and our next steps on all of the Chancellor's goals. So I just wanted to share that with you. Next, I want to share just some highlights on the Centers of Excellence. Coming up, we are, in terms of the Centers of Excellence, particularly for the new board members, really wanted you to know that these centers really came out of those key dialogues that we had with our community, with industry members, with community members, with our faculty, with our students, and really responding to these high-wage sectors in southern Arizona. So, we're really excited about how we've expanded the demand programs at Pima. And in terms of, I'm going to share a lot more detail with you because we have our orientation tomorrow morning, so you'll get a lot more deep dive into the Centers of Excellence. But in terms of just a couple, the advanced manufacturing building, that is now scheduled for completion on February 17th. And we are planning now, the plan for that is to have a ribbon cutting ceremony the first week of May. And then we'll have full operation in the fall of 2023, but we'll begin perhaps being able to offer some industry training in that building as early as this spring. Also, really want to emphasize that this is going to really increase our availability in terms of partnerships with JTED. Some of the key industry partners are going to be using this facility: Caterpillar, Lucid, Raytheon, just to name a few. And then the next area, the Aviation Technology Center, which I already mentioned, is 100% complete. Very proud of what they're doing there. I believe that we are now one of the best and largest aviation programs in the nation. So we're really proud of that. The Science Labs area, those are at West Campus. And if I was to say where we've had some challenges, we had some challenges in that there's been some delays around the completion of those labs. We're very close now. We're about 95%, and we're hoping to have folks in there, being able to make that transition in the summer. And then sub-goal 3 is the work on the West Campus. Well, I mentioned those already. Some other key priorities ahead of us, though, is, and we just had some meetings this week, is about funding for the Public Safety and Emergency Services Center of Excellence. We actually have a funding gap, and we're now exploring possibilities to fully fund that Center of Excellence. So those are some of the areas in terms of the Centers of Excellence. Next is student support goals. In terms of the student support, we basically have done a Sensi survey that is completed, and Sensi stands for the Survey of Entering Student Engagement. And from that survey, we are making a number of recommendations, and we are on target for the March of 2023 to have all of those recommendations and then to begin implementation of those recommendations in terms of student support goals. And then sub-goal 9 is to expand on-ramps to Pima Community College. And some of the board members in the earlier session heard about iBest. So iBest is one of those programs, so we are now continuing to scale iBest, which provides new on-ramps for students. Also, our program at the Gospel Rescue Mission is yet another on-ramp for students. So our goal is really to expand access across Pima County for all of our residents. And then finally, sub-goal 10 is to build upon workplace learning opportunities and then identify a system platform for workplace learning integration and management of work-based learning offerings in each program. And so we are actually the initial meetings have occurred, and stakeholder input for platform parameters will be finalized in the early spring. And so the actual identification of workplace learning has actually been identified across all programs. So that is a very quick overview of the Chancellor's goals, and I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question, and maybe we're going to go into it tomorrow when we do all the orientation, which is okay. But you mentioned a funding gap, and so my natural question is how much for completing that?
So should I go ahead? Okay. So essentially, to do the Public Safety Center of Excellence at the last go-around to do what we wanted to do was about $18 million, and right now we only have a budget of $5 million.
So let me clarify that. So originally, we weren't thinking 18.5. We were thinking something more modest. But when you see the opportunity that's before us, we can grow that program substantially. What it would require would be a full remodel of the East Campus and allowing this program to have a substantial presence there. In order to do that, we would need to do some major renovation work.
Yes, Board Member Garcia.
Okay, I have a question. So was this not part of the master plan originally?
So what was budgeted in the original plan was $5 million to move the Public Safety Center of Excellence over to the East Campus. And when we actually worked with, let me back up a little bit. The first option was to actually expand it at the 29th Street Coalition Center. And when the team worked with the architects, it was very clear that that was not feasible. There was not enough parking, there was not enough space to give them the capacity that they needed at the 29th Coalition Center. Then the next move was to then look at the East Campus. And when they actually did the programmatics of what they actually needed, they demonstrated that the budget was insufficient. So what we've done is we've actually put that on hold in order to do this correctly.
So then my next question is, was this part of the bond money?
The $5 million was part of the bond money. Yes, the $5 million, which has been allocated. So that money's sitting, if you will, allocated for this project. But I think what we're trying to do is to access some new possibilities to do this project correctly.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
you so much.
Super exciting. Thank you. We have an HLC update, and Jeff Teese is going to be presenting. I'm not sure. Oh, hi, Jeff.
Good evening, Chairperson Riel. Good to see you again. Board members, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, guests that are here with us, and those out in the virtual space. My name is Jeff Teese. I'm the Dean of College Readiness and Student Success here at Pima Community College, and I'm one of the co-leads for the Criterion 3 review, and so I'm here to provide a brief update on the work that we've done and the work that we plan to do. So just a quick overview of Criterion 3, focusing on the quality, resources, and support that go into the teaching and learning at the college. 3A references the rigor of the academics. 3B is referencing the institution's programs that engage students in collecting, analyzing, and communicating information. Think about the Gen Ed redesign that's coming on board with that, but also a lot of the career and technical programs and how they develop skills that are adaptable to the changing environments with technology, as you saw earlier with the Ford Asset Program, for example. 3C, the institution has the faculty and staff needed to be effective and provide high quality programming. And lastly, 3D is that the institution provides support for student learning and also for the effective teaching that goes on in the classrooms. So our initial work, we were tasked with looking at the documents that we provided to HLC in 2018 and 2019 to make sure that with respect to Criterion 3, there wasn't anything in those documents that we said we were going to do that we have not yet at least started to do, right, depending on the length or the type of initiative. So the first thing our team did was look at all of the documents that we provided as an institution to the HLC, and we said, that piece of information sounds like something we were going to do. Can we find that we're doing it? Where's the evidence that we are doing, or we've implemented it, or we're in the process of implementing it? So what we're sharing here with you is some of those gaps that we discovered and the things that led us to reach out to our colleagues and find out more information about, oh, we are really doing that. That has been completed, or that's in process, or that's something we need to pick up the pace on. 3A, for example, evidence of focused reviews beyond creating the default semester pathways. So CQI team has done a wonderful job of modernizing the way we capture course learning outcomes and program learning outcomes over the last 3-4+ years. And so there is that evidence. It's collected in their eLumen platform. Also the Gen Ed redesign moving forward, that has not been completed, but that's a redesign component that will obviously affect 3A. And as that work team, or the team that's working on that particular project moves forward, we will capture that information as they share it broadly. Another example there, evidence was missing from the 21-22 catalog. So one of the things that we didn't see in the last catalog was this idea that the credit program in that particular surge tech had moved from clock hour to credit, and we didn't see it. Come to find out, we weren't looking in the right place, and so we worked with the curriculum team and the dean and the department head over that particular area, and we were able to find that information. So just another example. We have some other examples. Curriculum has done a great job with providing evidence of the mapping of curriculum from 3B. 3C, one of the challenges was making sure that the process was codified for faculty certifications and making sure that we meet the minimum qualifications. We're doing the work. We've been doing the work. But the challenge, if you haven't been through an HLC accreditation review, is we don't want to be trying to find it in different places, right? We want to make sure it's an easy find and it's codified in a standard operating procedure or some other document that we can easily access once the reviewers are here. On the last one, 3D, we didn't find any gaps, but we did want to highlight some of the great work that did happen with respect to that student learning and supporting teachers in the teaching of classes. As you know, when the pandemic hit, we had to go everything online, and that was a large ask for a lot of people, and everybody stepped up. There were challenges along the way, but we had great support teams from the Teaching and Learning Center, our CLT team out of Pima Online. The library picked up the slack with tech device distribution, working with EdTech, Educational Technology team. Sorry for the shortness. And our tutoring team went virtual, so they didn't have to just rely on a third-party net tutor. Our tutors are actually live in the virtual space. We were able to pair students up with that as well. So there was a lot of great work. We didn't find any gaps, but we wanted to at least throw a few kudos out there for those that stepped up to the plate during that time. So next steps moving forward, we are going to be working with our colleagues across the college that have oversight of a lot of these programs, seeking to gather the evidence. HLC describes the evidence as either clear, corroborative, or the third one is circumstantial. Thank you, Wendy. I knew I had it. And so what we're looking to do is find that clear evidence, right? That's the evidence we want. And the type of evidence we're looking for, they provide us some really good examples. We obviously provided evidence in the past as well. So the evidence that we're looking for is evidence that we do the things that we say we're going to do along these lines, whether it's supporting students in the classroom, supporting students outside of the classroom with their learning, and supporting the staff and faculty that are in the classroom doing the teaching. And that is our next step. We've already reached out to our colleagues. We've got meetings planned throughout the rest of the semester. We're starting to write our chapter of the document that due when, Wendy, somewhere sometime in July. I'm not sure the exact date, but Criterion 3 is due in like June or July as a first draft. So that is an update on the work team that's focused on Criterion 3. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for doing all that work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to mention to Wendy and Jeff and everybody else who's involved with the HLC, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
And we appreciate what you're doing to make sure that we're recognized by the HLC as being a great institution. So thank you, and all of your colleagues working with you too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, our next report is going to be given by Libby Howell, and it's the legislative update. Thank you, Libby.
Good evening. I'm Libby Howell. I'm the Executive Director of Media, Community, and Government Relations. So this is a brief update on legislative priorities. And I want first to say how grateful I was that Chair Riel and Dr. McLean and Ms. Garcia came to Community College Day. We were really excited. We had a great attendance by legislators. I think I counted 12 who stopped by our booth, and then 2 of them invited our dental studies students and our adult basic ed students to come and be introduced from the gallery at the beginning of the floor session. So we viewed that as being a good success. So first I want to start by talking about What's different about this year's legislature? 41 of the 90 legislators are brand new. They have never served in the legislature. They have never held an elected office. So, you know, the expression drinking from a fire hose, that's pretty much their lives right now, trying to figure out how things work, just where to go. There are 10 new people in the Senate and 31 in the House. Republicans are still the majority party in each chamber, but by only 2 members. Now, that's not different. That's been the case for the last couple of years. What is different is that the Republican Party is more divisive than ever before. There are no moderates left in the legislature, and the Republicans who serve in the legislature are not representative of the Republican Party statewide, which is a real switch from what we've had in the past. Another thing that's new is that the subcommittees are back. For example, Representative Matt Gress chairs the Higher Ed Subcommittee of Appropriations. That is a good thing for us because he knows community colleges. He understands how we go about our work. He's pretty facile in funding and expenditure limitation issues. We have a brand new governor of a different party, and her staff is new, and so they're drinking from a fire hose too at the same time, in a sense. And then finally, this Republican part of the legislature is very committed to keeping taxes low. They'd like to expand the voucher system if they could. You may have read in the paper today that they're interested in passing what's called a skinny budget. This means that it would be last year's budget minus all the one-time appropriations. So, for example, the rural community colleges each received a one-time appropriation. If the skinny budget passed, that would not be included in that budget. In general, the governor's budget was not well received by the joint Senate and House Appropriations Committee. So that leaves a lot of uncertainty about what the priorities are going to be and what they're going to go after. So now let's talk about what our priorities are. First, I want to mention that AC4, and AC4 is the acronym for the Arizona Community College Coordinating Committee, 4Cs, has sponsored 2 bills. They're identical bills, one in the House, one in the Senate. The House bill is sponsored by Representative Tim Dunn, and the Senate bill is sponsored by TJ Shope. He was formerly a Phoenix legislator, but now his new district comes into Pima County, so a little bit. So he does also represent Pima County. If we do that on purpose, we have 2 bills, one in each house, so that it's more likely that one of them at least will pass. And if both pass, then there's, you know, collaboration and determination of what needs to change to make one bill. This bill would, for the next 3 years, would extend reduced penalties for community colleges who are forced to exceed their expenditure limitation. So it's a stopgap measure. There are conversations taking place about the possibility of a ballot referral. You know, the legislators we've talked to are not too crazy about that idea. The ballot referral could change the expenditure limitation formula in some ways, and that has not been determined. We are on a very tight time frame because the Senate's deadline for submitting bills was this Monday, Monday of this week, and the House's will be next Monday. And the House is closing a day early this week, and so they're not meeting on Thursday. So their members will have both Thursday and Friday off. So that just left today and Monday to try to get anything to pass, to be dropped, any bills to be dropped by the House. The problem with the whole expenditure limitation issue is that it's really hard to explain to lay people. And I count legislators in that because however knowledgeable they are in accounting or funding or whatever, expenditure limitation is really complicated for them. It's also not common nationally. We have done some research, and it looks like fewer than 10 states have expenditure limitations for community colleges. Lots of states have overall expenditure limitation laws, and lots of K-12 does, but applying them to community colleges is unusual. So one of our particular priorities is a bill to get non-credit workforce training to count towards a college's FTSE calculation. The reason for this is we're really engaging in more of that. I think our longer-term board members know that we've really made a priority of working with business and industry. We respond to employers when they need programs, and so we want to make sure that we're offering things that appeal to them. Lots of times that means we have to do it very fast. We can't, spend 2 years getting the HLC to approve a course. And so we do that as a non-credit class, except that it still costs the college money to have teachers and programming and equipment and all that sort of stuff. So we feel that those classes should legitimately count towards our FTSE calculation. We want to protect the STEM funding that we got last year. Last year, for the first time in a number of years, our amount that is in formula was given to us. There is a state statute that calculates how much you can get based on your enrollment, and we've gotten STEM funding a couple of times since 2015, but this is the first time that it was the formula amount, so that was important to us. We want to make sure that we're able to keep that, so we're really protecting that as a priority. Let's see, we are hoping to redefine the FTSE formula for community colleges. For some reason, in Arizona, universities only have to have 12 credit hours to count towards FTSE, whereas community colleges have to have 15. And this has been problematic in a number of ways. One good example was our Arizona Teachers Academy, which pays a stipend to reimburse students if once they get out of that program, they graduate from that program and they're employed as a teacher. If they work as a teacher in Arizona, they get reimbursed for that tuition. Well, our credit hour amount didn't match with the universities, and so we had this whole problem with trying to reconcile it. So that's an example of why it would be good to have us, for us both to have the same. It puts us on the same as a number of federal grants. The federal government uses 12 credit hours as the standard calculation, so we're working on trying to get that. And then the last thing I want to mention is something that we do all the time, and a lot of times it's invisible, and that's monitor bills and make sure that there aren't any bills that are going to be a problem for Pima. For example, last year, one of the real problematic issues was guns on campus. There were several bills that would have supported students being allowed to carry guns on campus. Fortunately, none of those bills passed, but it's that kind of thing we really have to keep an eye out for. It's not the typical bills about funding or, school operations that sometimes throws a chink in the works. Another bill that has passed last year that we're trying to make sure that we don't have expansion is CTEDs are now allowed to offer associate degrees, and they are not required to be accredited the same way colleges and universities are. So we really want to keep an eye on that space and make sure that it doesn't tread anymore in the community college space. So that's the last thing I have, but I do want to show you this wonderful picture of our crew at the Capitol. You'll see in the lower left, Ms. Garcia and Ms. Riel, and it was a great day. It was lots of fun, long, but really worthwhile. So, can I answer any questions?
What is CTED?
It's what we call JTED here in Pima County. Anything else?
Not really a question, but just, if you ever need help speaking to some of these folks, if it makes sense for certainly me as an elected leader of the college, or potentially my colleagues up here too, please let me know. I'm happy to have a conversation with somebody.
That's great.
To advance any of these objectives.
That's great. Okay, so the last thing I'll mention is you may not have to grade homework, but don't forget to do your ACCT homework, okay?
Thank you, Libby.
Okay, moving on, we're going to start with the reports by the representatives to the board, and the first one is going to be the student report from Athena T.T. Martinez. And I just want to mention, she was also up at the state legislature and did a fabulous job representing Pima Community College to everybody who stopped by the booth. She's an amazing young woman. We'll wait for another minute or, well, not a minute, but a few more seconds. Athena, are you there?
She does not appear to be in the Zoom meeting.
Okay. Jim Craig, since you are here, would you like to give your report first? And then we'll make sure that everything is working with the Zoom calls for the other reports that are coming in?
I would be happy to, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Chairperson, Chair Real, Chancellor Lambert, distinguished board, PCC family, and friends. My name is Jim Craig. I'm the Dean of Business and Information Technology, and I'm your administrative rep to the board. Sarah Mackey is an adjunct faculty in the veterinary technology program, and she's won an Association of Veterinary Technology Education Teaching Excellence Award. This award goes to one educator annually and is bestowed to an educator who has demonstrated an outstanding performance in teaching. The award search was nationwide, with Ms. Mackey earning the honor this past August. Sarah Mackey is a certified veterinarian technician and has been an adjunct faculty here at PCC for decades. She holds the, she also leads technicians at a local emergency center in addition to guiding students here at PCC. This award has been established to honor veterinary technology educators who are recognized by their students and colleagues as being exceptional instructors. This achievement is truly remarkable for Ms. Mackey and for the vet tech program as a whole. Got to find the right way to hold this button down. On January 25th, administration from all areas of academics, student services, marketing, and other areas of the college from both PCC and NAU gathered at the NAU PCC Educational Attainment Collaborative Meeting at the downtown campus. This was actually the second meeting of the group between the two institutions with the intent to advance student success through enhanced and new program articulation from PCC to NAU, improved transfer processes for students, and better awareness of overall educational opportunities for students. There was some prior subcommittee work that was shared to the entire committee, and next steps and takeaways were developed. The NAU guests, as you can see from the picture, were also given a tour of the new advanced manufacturing facility at the downtown campus. This great collaborative effort is being led by Provost Puglisi from NAU and our own Provost, Dr. Duran Serta. The Instructional Technology Council has awarded PCC student Namrata Patel the 2022 Outstanding E-Learning Student Award. This is the second time in a row that a fully online student from Pima Community College has been the sole recipient of this award. So this award recognizes a distinguished e-learner that is an exemplary member of their community. Namrata will be receiving this award in February at the ITC Annual E-Learning Conference in Las Vegas. Namrata started at PCC in the fall of 2020 through a tuition reimbursement partnership her employer had with the college. She actually lives in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, and works as a banquet manager at the Residence Inn. She took all of her courses fully online, and most in an 8-week format, working towards an AAS degree in hospitality leadership. Namrata graduated in December 2022 with an overall GPA of 4.0. She was a Pima Online Student Senator and Treasurer, and was a strong student advocate for improving the online experience. The Danae Graves Foundation posthumously honored Mary Cardwell Dawson, founder of the National Negro Opera Company, at events in Washington, D.C. over January 19th through the 22nd. This was ahead of Black History Month, which actually starts today. PCC's own Dr. Karen Bryan, Dean of Arts at Pima Community College, presented a fascinating lecture, Self-Determination on the Operatic Stage, Mary Cardwell Dawson, an African-American performance in Washington, D.C. and New York City. This lecture is part of the National Library of Congress American Musicology Society lecture series that features AMS members presenting on exciting research conducted using the Music Division's unique collections. In this case, it's the library's National Negro Opera Company collection. Last but not least, some interesting data facts. The IT cybersecurity programs and Center of Excellence continue to be a shining example of innovation, disruptive learning, student success, and growth. Enrollment continues to grow with double-digit growth every year since 2018. This year was no different. Enrollment has increased 26.89% across all IT cyber programs. The Center of Excellence has also been laser-focused on closing the educational attainment gap with purposeful, sustained DEI efforts. As a result, Hispanic headcount is 338, an increase of 34.7% from 2022. Black African American headcount is up 32.6%, and women headcount in IT cyber is 196, an increase of 23% from last year. We applaud the efforts of the IT Cybersecurity Center of Excellence administrators, faculty, staff, and especially our students. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but just a quick comment. Just congratulations on what the IT cybersecurity program is able to do. I mean, that's incredible. We want programs to be representative of the communities we serve, and it's definitely on the pathway to being part of that. And also congratulations to Ms. Patel on that award. You know, what our students are going to do are fantastic, and a special congratulations to Sarah Mackey, who, full disclosure, is also my wife's cousin, and so I need to say that so I don't get in trouble at like the next birthday party or something that's coming up. But we're very proud of Sarah. That's awesome, a reflection of all her good work.
Okay, we'll go back to the very top. The student report by Athena Titi Martinez.
She is still not in the Zoom webinar.
She's not here? Okay. No. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the adjunct faculty report by Sean Mendoza.
Good evening, Chairwoman Ryle, Chancellor Lambert, members of the board, and honored guests. On behalf of all adjunct faculty, I would like to welcome all returning and new board members to the college. At least one board member knows what it's like to be an adjunct faculty member. But for everyone else, I just wanted to share a small little bit of information. Traditionally, adjunct faculty at Pima Community College face several challenges, including low pay, limited job security, limited opportunities for professional development and advancement. Many lack benefits such as health insurance, retirement plans, and many have to work multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. We also have limited access to resources, support systems such as office space, equipment, and administrative support. Nationally, the high turnover rate of adjunct faculty can lead to a lack of consistency and continuity in the classroom, making it harder for students to receive high-quality education. During my tenure as the adjunct faculty chair and representative, the college community has worked hard to address many of these issues by creating an environment that includes more adjunct faculty on important governance groups like the AERC, ACC, All College Council, Faculty Senate, disciplined faculty communities at the college. Secondly, adjunct faculty, their spouses, and dependents also now enjoy the fee waiver benefit available to full-time faculty and staff. Thank you, board, for allowing for that change. And most recently, the board had supported our efforts to implement a tiered system available also to full-time faculty, which we hope will minimize the adjunct faculty turnover rates by providing many, if not all, of the benefits I've listed earlier. We look forward to strengthening our partnership with the Chancellor, Provost's Office, and AERC to continue our work on a third tier for the adjunct faculty and identify resources that encourage greater consistency and continuity in our classrooms for the benefit of our students. In closing, the adjunct faculty are looking forward to the Chancellor's online visit this Friday and the board's continued support of our employee group in the future. Thank you, and this ends my report.
Thank you, Sean. We do definitely appreciate all of the classes and all of the work that all the adjunct faculty do to support student learning and student engagement at the college. So thank you, and please share those words from the board with all of your fellow adjunct faculty members. The next report is the staff report by James Johnson, also via Zoom.
Yes. Good evening, Chairperson Real, board members, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, students, and guests. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to basically highlight our new staff council makeup. The chair, we have Dorothy Netherland. Our vice chair is Carissa Ochoa. Our treasurer, Cody Watts. Secretary is Erica Martin. Our communications and outreach officer, Christopher Rodriguez, and I am the acting governing board representative. The past chair is John Wesley, and Erica Elias is technically the board of governor representative, but she's on educational leave. Just wanted to take this time out to recognize Erica. She stepped down from this position to pursue her PhD in psychology, educational technology integration, which is pretty fascinating. I had no clue about this. This program is the psychology behind how and why technology works to meet the vital goals of improving education. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to her because I think that's fantastic. So, like I said, this is the new makeup of the staff council. We're a representative group tasked with making recommendations to administration. Another thing we do is organize, promote, and facilitate college and the community partnerships and events and activities. Right now, one of the things that we're doing, we're assisting in the process of the staff professional development committee vacancies. We got 2 spots that we need to fill. I just want to take some time out because professional development has been been great for me. So one of the things it does is set aside $2,500 per employee for training or educational development. I see this as a win-win for both the employee and the college. Training is about investments in the employees, the organization, and the institution. With the unprecedented staff shortages, it's vital that we start investing in our employees. That way we can start saving money while reducing the skills gap challenges. So I just wanted to take some time out to say that that's one of the initiatives that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I want to see these successes continue on. I think it feeds in with the theme that's been going on throughout this board meeting, this board meeting about opportunity and keeping Pima Community College as a premier institution. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, James. And our last report is from the faculty representative, Denise Riley.
Here.
Hi, Denise. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Riel, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, and guests. Welcome back, members of the board. I hope you're acclimating well to your roles and the new team dynamics. Our Faculty Senate Officer team has been working collaboratively together for a few semesters now, and we consider ourselves a well-oiled machine, to quote Faculty Senate President Rita Lennon. To that end, our Faculty Senate Officer team represent a diverse group of disciplines at the college, and we hope to continue the cooperation and momentum among our leadership group. We welcomed our faculty constituents back in January for spring 2023 with our traditional all-faculty day with over 250 faculty members in attendance. Planning for our welcome back meetings was a team effort of Faculty Senate officers and the Provost Office team. We appreciated the autonomy in organizing the day as we believe it was a successful endeavor. We had an insightful presentation by the AERC, All Employee Representative Council, and a listening session by our Faculty Senate President Rita Lennon. We gathered feedback from all faculty related to topics of interest and concern moving forward. As board members or you all have study sessions to delve deeper into particular topics, Faculty Senate has initiated the same. We asked faculty for ideas on topics for future study sessions and highlighted call to action items. In the future, some hot topics to keep note of in relation to the faculty. 1, we have a leadership structure among faculty that is not sustainable. Several years back, the leadership structure changed and department heads and discipline coordinators took on various additional duties that are making it difficult to teach and do their jobs. That is an initiative that's also gotten attention by the Provost Office, so we hope to see where that goes in the near future. The second hot topic to keep note of is in the important year of data, we want to keep note of this faculty ratio in comparison to other ratios at the college. And as we spoke and heard about funding earlier, this is going to be important to look into a little bit deeper. And of course, the third hot topic of the year is going to be the HLC. As mentioned by Chairperson Riel, the Higher Learning Commission and the assurance argument is a big endeavor, and it involves all groups of the college, including all the work that is entailed by faculty to make sure that that is approved and that we move forward as a college. I wanted to extend the invitation for our Faculty Senate meetings that take place on the first Friday of the month. The link is included in my report, as well as all the data and Jamboard and information from All Faculty Day. So the first Friday of the month, you are welcome to attend our open Faculty Senate meetings. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Denise. And section 2.3, the Chancellor's report. Thank you.
Madam Chair, good evening and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the first full month of the new year, especially to our faculty who joined us mid-January. And I just want to say how proud I am to each and every one of you. Pima continues to enjoy tremendous success, not only here in this community, but across the country. And so I'll start with that. In fact, later this month, there's a small group of us, including Chair Riel, will be joining us to go and make the case for why Pima should be receiving the Bellwether Award. We're up in 3 categories: instructional programming for our micro pathways work, workforce development, our post-bac teacher certification program is up in that category, and then in the category of planning, governance, and finance, our 1-credit student success course that is mandated and it's free to the learners. So those are the 3 programs that we will be making the case for Pima to receive at least 1 bell. And I always say to people, even if we don't walk away with the final award, every one of the schools that are there are winners. So I want us never to lose sight of that. But what is interesting in all of this is Pima has been very successful over the last few years to have a proposal that's been accepted for the Bellwether Award. So we are doing something very, very special. I don't think there's probably any other college in the country that has consistently have had programs up for the Bellwether Award in each of the 3 categories. So we have a lot to be proud of. Last month was the start of the Lunar New Year, so a small group of us were in attendance at the Chinese Cultural Center to usher in the Lunar New Year here in Pima County in southern Arizona. Also had our board retreat, as well as the events as noted at the Capitol last week. And then yesterday, I did the keynote at the Marana Chamber Education event, so I was pleased to do that. And a small group of us got to go see our world-renowned ceramics faculty member, Hiro Tashimi's art exhibit, which is not too far from here. Now, Hiro's work is displayed all over the planet, and he's asked to go to all these places all over. So we are so fortunate to have someone of his caliber among our faculty, and so we hope that one of our mission moments will get to highlight his outstanding contributions to this community, but all over. Jim mentioned some folks who got recognition. I'd like to add to that list. Our very own Jeff Sylvan was named one of the top 25 attorneys in the state of Arizona. So congratulations, Jeff. I don't think we mentioned you, Jeff Thies, but Jeff Thies has been selected by the National Organization for Student Success for an award, the NOS Award. And he'll be receiving that, I believe, next month. And then Renee Forsythe will be receiving the Outstanding First-Year Student Advocate Award as part of her work for the first-year experience that we have here at Pima. And then it's just outstanding, our student who's being recognized. What folks don't realize, we partnered with Pearson to do an innovative program work that's focused in certain key areas. And she is one of our students through that program. And I believe, was it last year's graduation speaker? He also came to us through that program as well. So we're attracting students from all over the country who want a Pima education. And then I just learned today that Amy Davis will be receiving the 2022 Award for Excellence in E-Learning. So let's congratulate all of them, please, everyone. Also, things that are on the horizon. So you probably heard about the ASU and YouTube partnership. So they have embraced YouTube crash course program to create a way to engage learners who are on the margin and bring them into opportunities to receive credit towards their college degree. And I think that's something that we could also look to see how we explore similar opportunities. I'm proud to say that 3 of our Pima folks were recently interviewed by KOLD, Emily Halverson Oates, who's our dean for our STEM area, Reed Dixon, who's a program manager in our e-learning, and Elliot Mead, who's one of our folks who work out of our Teaching and Learning Center, were interviewed to talk about OpenAI chatbot GPT. So Pima is on the forefront of helping shape what the future landscape is going to be around these advanced learning technologies. And I think what I learned from them is, let's figure a way to embrace these technologies to enhance student learning as opposed to resisting it and realizing that at some point they're not going to be able to resist it. So how do we make the most of it? And I believe they made a good case for why. I'm not sure when this is going to be aired, but it will be aired. And once we know when that is, Dolores, will you make sure we get that information out to everybody? Again, it's just another fine example that our employees are being recognized as leaders in their respective areas in this community, across the state, and across the country. Also want to highlight our ASU partnership. So I recently sat in a briefing where our Cheryl Hyman, who's the community college liaison for ASU, shared with us the pathway to ASU work that's going on. The top 3 programs that Pima students end up transferring to ASU are in social work, business, and nursing. But here's another important piece of that work. More of our students are graduating to the online modality as opposed to the face-to-face modality but it's also true of the other colleges as well. So online is gaining ground in terms of its preferred method for learning. And I don't think it's because folks necessarily want online, but I think it's the convenience factor, the opportunities that it presents, but we also have to recognize that's a reality as we go forward. And our hope is to balance these modalities here at the college. So with that, just want to say thank you to everyone for what you do, and we have so much great things going on at the college. We have more good things going on than not, and I want us to never forget that, and I'll look forward to joining all of you next week as we go make the case for why the federal government should continue to invest in community colleges and specifically Pima Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Okay.
You can just make note that the information items are there and then move to the consent agenda.
Okay. So item 3 is information items, and there are 6 items that are listed on the board docs website. If you're interested in looking at those, we'd love you to take a look and let us know what you think if there's any comments or thoughts. Moving on to the consent agenda. Board members?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I'm sorry, guys. I think
So,
You have a motion on the...
so the motion is to approve the consent agenda. So there is a motion and a second, so we can either take amendments to that motion or we can vote. So if anyone has an amendment, we can do that.
I'm not sure about an amendment, but anyway, on the contract for the Kelly services, it was presented, there was, the Chancellor sent us information on it. I still have some questions about that. I know that you stated that there was 4 occupations that we were contracting for.
Maria, let me just interrupt if you don't mind. So I think at this point, I think what you could do is you could say you would like to make an amendment that you would like to pull that item, and we'll discuss it after we pass the rest of the consent agenda.
Okay, so the amendment is to pull it? Remove it.
Yeah.
Or table it, right?
No.
Pull it.
We're going to remove it from the consent agenda so we can talk about it specifically after we pass the rest of the agenda.
Okay. That's what I want to do.
So,
I accept the amendment.
okay, thank you. Is there, so we've had a motion to pass the consent agenda except for item number 4.7, the Kelly services. And then the amendment was accepted by the person who made the motion. Thank you. Anything else?
Call for the question.
Okay. All in favor of passing the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to pass the consent agenda passes, and now we will talk about 4.7.
Okay. So do I go? Yeah. Okay. So my question on, thank you for the information that you provided on the Kelly services.
Madam Chair, let me just for clarification, so you pulled this item to be placed onto the, as an action item for discussion. So you probably should have first a motion, and then a second, and then discussion on that item.
Okay, so I make the motion to... Not approve the contract for Kelly services.
So there's a motion on the floor to not approve the contract for Kelly services. Is there a second? We have to have a second in order to start the discussion. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. So now there's discussion, Maria.
Okay, thank you guys. Anyway, so my question on the Kelly services, again, Chancellor, thank you for the information you guys provided to me, but there were 4 occupations in there that were stated, biology, biology, writing, and my question on those items is, for example, I know it was 25 employees that were going to be, we're going to contract for outside services outside of the state of Arizona. And I guess it's probably necessary, but what I'd like to know is, what is the college doing in trying to recruit people, and how is the pool of people out there that we need that? And the other one is, how many more courses could we have to enroll additional students?
So I'm going to ask Dr. Dave B. to come up and join us, but let me just provide some context. So most of these positions are adjunct faculty positions. They're not full-time faculty position or full-time staff positions. We have needs in certain critical areas that we sometimes struggle to find the talent here in Pima County or in a surrounding area. So sometimes we need the ability to draw talent to be able to offer program or courses in certain program areas. So that's kind of, keep that in mind, okay? And then as we have to source talent, then we have available to us, really because of the online modality, talent from anywhere on the planet, so to speak, but we obviously try to stick within the 50 U.S. states in terms of drawing that talent. So that's the context. But in terms of getting into the particulars and the specifics, that's why I have Dr. Dave B. here. So I don't know, Dave, if there's anything else you want to add to what I just said.
Yeah, I think it would be a good evening, Chairperson Rial, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, guests. Let me give a little bit of context behind it just to make sure, because it's a little bit convoluted. So while the materials included the fact that there are about 25 people, and then I know that there were some questions about, well, it was 25 in one document, it was 26 in another, something to that effect. What we're looking to do is have a contract. We're estimating that around 25 employees would be needed at any given year for this out-of-state service. So it actually includes employees of there are 2 primary types. There are folks who were local, they were local to Pima County, and we hired them, and then they moved out of town. And they can continue to offer the service or offer the education that they had provided, but now they live out of state. The other one are the ones that Chancellor Lambert was referring to, where we have had a hard time finding adjunct faculty to fill certain positions. It enables us to offer courses that we would not be able to offer. So to give some context, again, and it's hard when you give a list of people, it's like, well, it's based on adjunct faculty who taught in the fall when this originally was put together. Now we have in the spring, there are different adjunct faculty. So it's sort of the list of names might change a little bit. We are looking to use this service for adjunct faculty and temporary employees only. For regular employees who are working out of state, we would continue to treat them. There are reasons that we would want to treat them as our own employees rather than through Kelly Services, even though that does require us making sure that we know for those few people, there are about 3 of them, that we make sure that because there's health care involved, because there's some other things involved in being a full-time employee, that we need to make sure that our staff are involved with those employees. So we're really looking to have a contract that enables us to hire people who are out of state to offer these adjunct faculty, adjunct faculty to offer courses. Running the numbers for fall and what's expected for spring, it's over 1,000 enrollments. So we're talking about a significant amount of enrollment that if we're not able to tap into that that labor force, we would be at risk of not being able to provide as much education to our students. And that's really what this is about. Running, and I think that we did make this clear in the materials, managing payroll for 50 plus states with different localities, because some cities have their own rules and laws, is really an onerous and almost impossible exercise for the payroll staff here. They are experts in Arizona law and Arizona payroll rules. It is this Kelly Services and other service providers like them are becoming more mainstream. Our counterpart colleagues use these kinds of services as well to make sure that you're offering payroll, or you're providing the payroll for those locations in a compliant way with workers' compensation rules, with withholding rules, all of that sort of thing.
Okay, so this is for Kelly Services. How long is the period for this contract? Is it ongoing? Is it every year?
This is what this proposal is for the $727,000, and again, that includes all of the pay that would go to those employees plus the amount that goes to Kelly Services. The $727,000 is through next June, not this coming June, the year following June. So it would cover a little more than a year.
Okay, my only request then would be that we are given data on who's been, the people that are hired, how many of them?
Yeah.
And then also measured by enrollment. What are our increases? And
Absolutely.
Then, that's it.
Yeah, come say like June, I think, or the end of the academic years, we would be happy to provide that updated information, and then as we go into next year to provide that information as well.
So, Madam Chair, can I ask for clarification? Would you like to amend your motion in light of the discussion?
Well, I would like to make a comment. So at the very bottom of the ESC Word document, I think it was, there was one small paragraph that said that if we didn't choose this option, the only other viable alternative would be to hire an employee that would be dedicated to this kind of work. And I'm just, $727,000 divided by, let's say 20 adjuncts and 5 full-time people, that's a lot of money to be going to that many adjuncts. So I had asked for more specifics about, names and where they were and what they were teaching and full-time, and I didn't actually receive any of those answers. But so the math isn't making sense to me. I know it's late, so maybe it does make sense, but it is not making sense right now, first off. Second, if we are hiring employees for whatever reason, I know there's all sorts of really good reasons, but I think it's really important to remember that this is a community college, and we should be hiring from our community because we have all sorts of amazing talent here. And if we don't have the amazing talent, let's get them to move here so they are part of our community. Thirdly, I think that we should look into, I'm not sure, I'm new, so I don't really understand 100% how all of this operations goes. I don't know if we can just hire somebody willy-nilly out of the blue because we need somebody to look into the the classification and all the laws for all of these different places. But my guess is, my younger son's got a degree in statistics and probability, and I'd like him to apply. I'm just joking. I think that there are a lot of people out there that have, in Pima County, I would assume, which I know is a bad thing to do, but I think that giving this amount of money, the $727,000, 2/3 of that about is going to pay for salaries for our folks, and the other amount is going to possibly pay for benefits. I'm not really sure if that makes sense to me mathematically either. And also then to pay Kelly Services to do this job, where according to the Employee Service Center letter, their last paragraph says the other alternative is to hire somebody, and I'd love to hire somebody. Okay. Thank you.
Let me address a few of those points. To be clear, the whole $727,000 includes all of the pay that would go to those employees, plus the amount that pays for the supplemental benefits. That would be Social Security, that would be workers' compensation, what you call fringe benefits. And that also that supplemental amount, so the amount that's in that middle column that totals to $188,000, that includes all of the benefits paid to those employees, and then in that is also the service, essentially the service fee that goes to Kelly Services. So if you take away what we would be paying to those employees, if those employees were not out of state and we were managing them ourselves, essentially you would have the $538,000, same cost. The college would be incurring about $90,000 of that $180,000. We would have to do that, and then the difference is more like $100,000. So the $100,000 is for them to provide that service and to be able to do it in a compliant way in 50 states or wherever the states may be where people are residing. For us to be able to provide that service in-house, I think that it's, one, it would cost more than $100,000 because you figure that you're going to have to hire a very capable person. We're going to have that person constantly looking around and managing and looking for things. And then if we were able to have these people move into, if everybody moved into Tucson and we didn't need someone, now we have someone who's an expert in something that we don't need to have an expert in. When we have Kelly Services is an expert in managing national and actually even international payroll. We know they're going to do it right. We know they're going to do it effectively. And quite honestly, I don't think we're going to find someone who would have that skill set in Tucson if we were trying to hire it in-house.
So just so I understand kind of so setting aside the people who were here and then left for a second. So if you had an opening, is my understanding correct that you would try to recruit locally first?
Yes.
And then if you couldn't find someone to fill that role, this is sort of the plan B to make sure that you have somebody that can fill that role.
Yeah, there's actually a process that they have to go through to justify hiring someone non-local. And it's sort of, you have to document that you went through a process, you weren't able to find anyone local, you're not able to fill the classes you need. So there is a process. In order to have someone in this situation, you have to follow a process to get there.
Oh, my last question. What kind of things do you have for justification for the departments that want or can't get those people?
You mean how does that process work? So it's basically, hey, we need to fill a position. We went out, we did marketing, we have the pool of adjuncts we have, and we're not able to fill them with the adjuncts we have. Again, it isn't to say that there aren't different ways to market and to get more, but these are the deans and the department chairs who are in those departments are having chronic problems in certain areas. And those are the sort of the areas that I listed in that document. There are certain people, and some of them are niche expertise, like in anatomy and physiology in biology. So you think biology, well, we would think that anatomy and physiology is a chronically difficult area to fill in terms of finding adjunct faculty. And so that's where one of them is that. But health information technology was one of the fields that is also chronically difficult to find.
But physiology is very difficult. I mean, you have to be in class to do that. You can't really do it online. And these people would be doing it online, correct?
Yeah, I mean, someone else is going to have to explain how you do online anatomy and physiology. I am not your expert in that realm. That's a faculty type question. That's an academic question, but yeah, I mean.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So, the ESC, the proposal came from the people in the ESC. They are concerned that they are not able to keep up with the demand and making sure that they know how to maintain compliance, how to make sure, because it's not just the withholdings, it's not just making sure the systems are set up right, but it's also the reporting after the fact, like making sure that you file the quarterly reports in a timely fashion to the right states. So I just want to make it clear that they actually are the ones who are saying we need some help in this area.
Just by way of comment, I mean, I think this isn't unusual, right? Like, I mean, in the greater workforce these days, I mean, I would love it if we could find people who are local or convince people to move here. I mean, you're going to have to drag me out of Tucson kicking and screaming, but it's just not the way of the world these days. I mean, all the business associates that I work with across industries, they just struggle to find applicants for even like non-highly specialized roles, let alone highly specialized ones. So this doesn't strike me as unusual or outside of the norm at all for what they're doing.
I think the questions that are being raised, I think they're great questions, and we're happy to review this with the board in the future because I think it's a really important topic.
I think that might be a little bit different for community college applicants, and I could be wrong, but I remember sitting on many hiring committees over the years, and we never had just a few. There was always plenty of people applying for most of these jobs. So just one last thing. I don't feel comfortable really voting on this, especially since, we don't know how many of each adjunct full-time faculty. I mean, obviously, if there were 8 full-time faculty, it would be amazing, but there's not. And the money, that's a lot of money. And I mean, I know that the salaries is okay, but paying somebody else when the ESC document on the very last paragraph said, or we could do it in-house if you hired another person, and our estimate is it's $110,000. So I'm saying I think it would be great to pay somebody in Tucson $110,000 to do this cool math job and research. But anyway, I think I wish we had the information we asked for.
So, Madam Chair, can I propose a way forward? And that is, if the board supports this evening, we will look to see if we could get closer to retaining someone on a full-time basis. I don't want to make a commitment as absolute, but we will look into that. Because if this doesn't pass tonight, then we're going to be placed in a difficult position. And then if we are not in compliance with those federal and state and local requirements of other states, that could put the college in a little awkward position. And so if you're willing to support this notion of support this, and we'll go and look into these other options, because this is only till June of next year is my understanding. So that gives us time to really start to look at other options and gather that data that you're asking for. So that's one facet. But the other thing I want to, on building off of what Board Member Taylor said, if you look at what's happening as a result of coming through the pandemic and out of it, more and more employees want to work from home, and more of those employees, now that they can work from home and command that, that means that they no longer have to live in Tucson and work at Pima. And so I worry that if that is a trend that starts to happen, that's going to compromise the college, and especially when you get into positions like IT and others that are already difficult to fill. So those are things to keep in mind.
So I have one more question. Is it acceptable to postpone it for a month and bring it forward next month, so we can have some additional information?
Of course, you're the board member. You can make that motion. It'll take a second, and it will take a majority of the people to vote on it in order for that to actually happen.
So I make the motion to postpone it for a month, the decision.
We have a point of order. We have to do the first motion you made before we, or I guess you could amend your motion, but yeah, we have to do the other one.
Well, yeah. Well, right, because your motion on the floor right now is to not approve this.
Yes.
And there was a second. So at this point, we have to do one of two things, actually, I'm pretty sure. We can either vote on it, or I think you can withdraw your motion. And then I think that the second, who was Mr. Gonzalez, you'd have to, I think, withdraw your second, and then there would have to be a new motion.
Okay, so I withdraw my motion.
I also withdraw my motion. Second.
Okay, now I make a new motion to postpone it for a month to look into some additional information. Bring it up next board meeting.
Is there a second? Is there any more discussion? Okay, I have another comment just to make. I think that I would like to err on the side of safety security, but I'm assuming that we have somebody in the office doing payroll, because obviously somebody has been doing this job for the last, since the pandemic started or whenever these people moved out. So I do understand that there's an urgent need to take care of this, but I think one more month would be a prudent exception, and I would like to see that information. Any other comments or discussion? So the motion is to withdraw this and bring it up in our next month's board meeting, and there was a second. All in favor for withdrawing this motion and waiting till next month to discuss it and vote on it, say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to say aye also. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so the motion carries 3-2. We'll bring this up again next month after we have received more information. There's one more action item, our discussion and approval of the Modified Higher Learning Commission Criterion 2 evidence plan and timeline. So that was the evidence plan that we looked at during our board retreat about the board being monitored and making sure that we're doing the things that we said we're going to do, providing evidence, which we have been doing, it changed some from the beginning, right? What was first, and then we all talked about it over many, many hours at that board retreat, and the document we have right now, I think, is something that sounds good. It's values we all care about, and I think that if there is a motion, I would like to hear it.
I move to approve the Modified Higher Learning Commission Criterion 2 evidence plan and timeline.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Number 6, are there any requests for future agenda items? Of course, including the one that we're just talking about.
Okay, so Jeff, I had some items last that I requested on the agenda that have not been added. There's a whole list of them.
Well, mine wasn't added here either. We just thought that there was going to be a lot of information on this, but we are going to, Dr. McLean, myself, and the Chancellor are going to start working on next month, and we will put some of these items. There's no way we can do all of yours and mine, Maria, but we will start working on them. Thank you. So can we just continue that list that we had last? We don't necessarily need to state them all over again. Is there anything new? Okay, thank you. And then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn passes. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you so much for being here.